and we're gonna wait a few minutes.
No, I think we're great. So if you'd like to share your research with us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, hello everybody. My name is Julia Navarro, and this is my presentation, The Effect of Training Abstract Words in a Bilingual Aphasia Treatment. This work was completed based on the thesis that I finished last year, and which was supervised by Dr. Sandberg and Dr. Gray, but they're not going to be joining us tonight, but they're excited for me to present. All right, so just a quick outline. We're going to be talking about the background of the study itself, and followed up by a quick wrap up. So, but before we get started, I would like to do a quick warm up for all of us, and feel free to participate. So I'm gonna name a topic, and I want you to think of words that come to your mind when you hear this word. And feel free to think about those or just put it in the chat box, but you only have 5 seconds due to the time pressure. All right, so please name as many words as you can think of in a category wedding. All right, thank you so much. I see some great words coming in. Yes, cake, right? Yeah, I had those associations as well. So let's summarize it all. Some of you put it in your chat box, so thought of words that are depicted in this box. It's like rings, wedding, wedding cake, white dress, etc., etc. So these words are concrete words. These are objects, and there's one way it's easy for us to visualize them. On the other hand, some of you might have thought of wedding being these words. Wedding is fun. Wedding requires a lot of preparation, or it's anticipation. So these words are abstract words. They represent ideas, and there is no one defined way to visualize them for us. So back in the 1960s, some behavioral studies introduced these two terms to describe concrete and abstract words: imageability and concreteness. Imageability is how easy the word is connected to its picture, and or how easy it's visualized. But concreteness is how easy the word is connected to our five basic senses. So while concrete words are high in imageability and concreteness, abstract words are the opposite. And it's also appropriate to say that concrete words are less complex than abstract words. Because of this complexity, research shows that individuals with aphasia, specifically with anomia, tend to generate concrete words more than abstract words. However, abstract words are important when we would like to express our feelings, opinions, or attitudes. That's why when we think of an aphasia therapy, we want to make sure that we address this discrepancy. In fact, there is a therapy that trains abstract words. It's called Abstract Semantic Associative Network Training, ABSENT. And this therapy not only trains abstract words, it also investigates the improvement in concrete words at the same time. And it is possible because of another hypothesis called the complexity account of treatment efficacy that states that when we train more complex concepts, in our case, abstract words, less complex concepts improve, concrete words. And the ABSENT has been showing success in monolingual population, but what about bilinguals? How can we train abstract words, but also how can we address two languages in the same therapy to improve time effectiveness? So, and also it's a fact that most bilingual treatments are aimed to train concrete words in one language. However, we do have research that shows the cross-linguistic generalization. Specifically, when we train non-dominant language, the dominant language improves. And it is possible because two languages, they share the same semantic representation that activates both lexicons at the same time. So now let's talk about our study. So our study was a replication of ABSENT, but we expanded it to a bilingual person with aphasia that spoke English and Russian. And treatment was divided into 2 phases. So during phase 1, we hypothesized that when we trained abstract words in English in a non-dominant language, abstract words will improve. Concrete words will improve as well, based on the findings from absent. And also we will see a cross-linguistic generalization into abstract words and or concrete words. During phase 2, we trained abstract words in Russian, the dominant language. We would still expect to see the direct training effect within language generalization to concrete words, but we would not expect to see the cross-linguistic generalization into the non-dominant language English. So, and our study is a single subject research, and our participant, let's call him Mark. So he was a 60-year-old man. He had a stroke about 12 years ago. And also before the treatment, he was asked to complete language use questionnaire that asked him to rate his abilities in reading, writing, speaking, and listening before in both languages before and after the stroke. And as we can see, Russian is his native language. And even though he lost a lot of his Russian, it was still his dominant language. Also, before the treatment, we did a battery of diagnostic assessments. Some assessments were available in English and Russian, some were not. But based on what we can see, for example, the bilingual aphasia test, Russian was the dominant language based on the percentages before and after the treatment. And also we found out that based on the cognitive linguistic quick test, our participant presented with mild to moderate cognitive impairment. So these are the categories that we trained during our treatment. And for the purpose of this presentation, I will be talking only about the train category. And also how we came up with these categories is a study on its own. If we have time, I'll be happy to share at the end. But so during phase 1, we trained 10 abstract words in English in a non-dominant language in a category soccer. So, and during phase 2, we trained abstract words in Russian, the dominant language, in a category wedding. This is the timeline of our treatment. So for each phase, we took probes before the treatment, during the treatment, and post-treatment. And by a probe, I mean a generative naming task when a participant was asked to name, same thing, name as many words as he could think of in every category in both languages within 2 minutes. So our treatment contained 5 steps, which performed every single time we saw the patient. So step 1 was a category sorting when Mark was given a stack of 40 cards, and he had to sort them between control and trained category. Step 2 was performed for every abstract words that we worked on during that specific treatment session. So Mark was given a stack of 45 semantic feature cards, where he had to find 6 cards that would best describe the one of the abstract words that we worked on. Step 3 was a feature verification when Mark was asked 15 yes/no questions about the word. Step 4, we talked about if the word was concrete or abstract. It was always abstract, and we would find a synonym and recall the word at the end. And step 5 was performed only once at the end of every treatment session, when Mark was given unlimited time to name as many words, that generate words in every category, in every language again. So these are the results for phase 1, when we again trained abstract words in a category soccer in English in the non-dominant language. To orient you to my graphs, red represents abstract words, blue represents concrete words. And based on the calculated effect sizes, Mark showed small effect size, like direct training effect into abstract words, small within language generalization to concrete words, and a prominent cross-linguistic generalization to abstract words, but insignificant to concrete words. So during phase 2, when we trained abstract words in a category wedding in Russian, his dominant language, Mark did not show any improvement. So what does it all mean? Let's see if our hypotheses were confirmed. So during phase 1, Mark showed the direct training effect as we expected. He also showed within language generalization into concrete words. And he also showed the cross-linguistic generalization to his dominant language, but not to concrete words in the non-dominant language. So during phase 2, we expected to see the direct training effect and cross-linguistic generalization. However, Mark did not show any improvement. However, he also did not have cross-linguistic generalization, which is a good thing. That's exactly what we expected, because we did not expect the cross-linguistic generalization to his non-dominant language. So as a conclusion, our findings were aligned with the previously done research that when we trained non-dominant language, the dominant language improves, which is cross-linguistic generalization. We also did not see any improvement during phase 2, even though we expected, and also our findings confirmed the complexity approach is when we train more complex concepts, the less complex concepts improve. And for future directions, we would like to expand the study BAPSENT. We called it bilingual absent, so BAPSENT. We plan to expand it to, I apologize. We plan to expand it to a wider groups of languages, and currently, we're working on the language combinations with English, such as Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Polish, and Tagalog. And we would like to expand to different language combinations as well. And also, as a future direction, we recommend that other aphasia treatments, they would adopt the complexity approach, which will basically, it helps to address 2 languages at the same time, and perhaps provide faster recovery for our patients. And so these are some of my references, not all. And thank you so much. We're done, and I would like to hear any questions or feedback. And you're more than welcome to email me as well, and I'll respond.
Yes, thank you, Julia. That was very interesting. So if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat box. Just like the previous presentation, you can also email her. That was very interesting. Okay. I did have a question.
Yeah.
If you felt that the soccer versus wedding, some of the differences you saw could have been attributed to an interest level, like more of an interest in soccer versus a wedding?
That's a really good question, because that definitely, I've noticed that definitely was the case, that the participant was a male. He was very into soccer, but also based on basically the anecdotal factors, because the patient was sharing his feedback with me. He was saying that he preferred therapy in English versus Russian, because English, he spoke Russian and he felt confident, more comfortable using it. But English, he knew that when he goes to the store, he needs to communicate in English. That's why for him, the therapy in English was more like motivating than therapy in Russian. That could also contribute that to like him not improving during phase 2 in Russian. So that could be the case, and also his interest in categories too.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I had a question as well along those lines, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just thinking too, whether or not you thought maybe personal experience might be a factor as well. I imagine if the client had played soccer, watched soccer, or or had a wedding himself, if maybe that type of interaction might be a factor there as well.
Definitely, absolutely. And when I mentioned like we picked those 3 categories, it was a study on its own, and it was because initially we had 11 categories. And that's how we started collecting words from different native Russian speakers. And also we asked the patient about every category. And based on also his words that he generated initially before starting the treatment, we picked those categories because we were thinking those were the most like interesting for him as well. But again, when you put them, when you train 2 different things, it could be a preference as well. Definitely, yeah.
So it looks like there were a few questions in the chat box. Someone was looking for your handouts. Were those online in the CVent system?
No, but I did not prepare, to be honest with you, any handouts. But what I can do, I can maybe upload, if I still can, this presentation. I'll be happy to share.
Sure. So maybe Sandy asked the question. Maybe Sandy, you could reach out to Julia and she could send it over. And then if you send the presentation to the Convergence team, they can work on getting it up into the system.
Oh yeah, okay, sounds great, will do.
Yeah. And then there was another question from Sarah. She said, curious about the category selection process. And maybe you kind of answered that.
Yes, I have actually a slide here. I keep bouncing towards it. Thanks for asking, Sarah. I wanted to show it. So these are the steps that we completed when we selected categories and words. So as I mentioned, there were 11 categories first. Then I questioned 15 native speakers to basically generate words in all those 11 categories. And also we consolidated all these words in one big Excel document, and we rated every single words based on the concreteness rating database. And based on that, when we were looking for categories that would give us the most interesting abstract words, and the words that can be applied to sort of that were useful for him as well. So, and yes, and then we chose 10 abstract words and 10 concrete words to use in our therapy. Concrete words were just showing to him when he had the cards, when he had the step 1, when he had to distribute the cards between trained and control categories. But we only worked on 10 abstract words over and over again throughout the therapy, throughout 20 sessions that we had for every phase.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was very interesting. This has been really fun. So if there aren't any other questions, you can go ahead and stop screen sharing.